Hey, what's up, folks? Emergent is so excited to host my friend Mikey for an interview with you today. So, Mikey, awesome to have you. What a wild world we live in. We were just catching up on some of that. We don't have to talk a ton about it now because
Yeah,
all that's going to be, I know, playing out in people's lives as things move forward. But you guys, it's just being honest to acknowledge. Tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and then kind of what you're facing right now.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm Mikey Sorboro. You guys probably know me as the Mikey from Late Night Slice. We also have Oddfellows Liquor Bar in the Short North and in Cincinnati. We also have a couple little concepts like the Sacred Palm, our little speakeasy down below our location at the Late Night Slice at High and Vine. We really can't wait to open up our places and get people back. We've there's nothing like putting your life's work to nap, um, and waking her back up, which is what we're in the process of starting really today. Has been really interesting, and it's been fun, and it's been hard, and um, it's been emotional, and it's been a crazy ride over these last 8 or 9 weeks. So I'm looking forward to talking about it, and I can't thank you enough for having me on.
Wow. What a powerful analogy. The idea of she's taking a nap. Um, I've seen a lot, read a lot. I think that's a fantastic way of thinking about it and processing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the people that who would be watching this video, people that are starting out in their career. They're not further down the road. They're not as experienced in leadership yet. Uh, what might be some things that within them regarding maybe their creativity and their expression in their work? How might they be napping? What might be some things that are asleep and need to wake up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of start at the beginning. For us, for us, I think everybody kind of went through in the beginning a bit of a mourning, as in like not waking up, as in like we all had to mourn. At least for us in the industries that got kind of put down for a nap, we had to mourn the cessation of our life's work for a little while. Like there was a time personally for me where, and it lasted probably 3 to 4 weeks, where it was depression. It was just kind of ambivalence. It was what I consider a true mourning for for kind of losing everything, for having to lay off 150 employees, for having to stop all the momentum that was so good and so plentiful in the beginning of this year. There's a certain time that I think we allowed, and I think it was a good thing to allow ourselves to go through that mourning, that transition, that stopping of everything we were doing, and adjusting to whatever life was going to be like for at that time the next few weeks, months, or question mark. um, After that, I think there was a time where you wake up and you decide that this is it doesn't have to be a bad thing if that's your perspective and the way we look at it. And now I've had a lot of time to look back on this, but you're going to do businesses that don't make it. And this might sound a little bit brash, but the weakest of us, and I'm talking restaurants and business, entrepreneurship, anything, and personally as well, the weakest will not survive. The average business or person will go back to doing everything that they used to do the same way they used to do it. And those of us who are in the position to, and I think those of us who will succeed through this are the ones that will use this as an opportunity to make themselves better and come out of this thing better than they were when they got into it. And there's a certain progression to that way of thinking that did not come instantly. I don't want to make it sound like it did. It took weeks and weeks to come out of mourning, to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my days now, and then to figure out, like, all right, you've had your time. Now it's time to do the things that you need to do to be better on the other end of this than you were when you got into it, because the perspective of using this as an opportunity is a must, because it can eat you alive if you don't. So that's really been the way I've been looking at you know, this whole nap is, you know, we must be better on the other side of this than we were getting into it. Because if we're not, then we're just, you know, that we're just average, and we're certainly not going to let it eat us alive. So it's there's only one option, and that's to be better on the other side.
Dude, that progression, I mean, it's so like meta to when we face crisis. Um, yeah, even the average parts of us are going to try to go back to normal. The weakest parts of us die away, and the strongest parts of us get activated.
Mm-hmm.
How for you has this crisis activated some creativity? And you don't have to share specific strategies or tactics in the business if you want, whatever. But how is it? What's that been like for you through this? Has it spurned a lot of ideas? Has it been about removing stuff?
Well, yes. I mean, that's yes, all of that. Um, when you don't have the day to day to occupy your entire day, I think it's pretty awesome what you can do with almost, let's say, unlimited time to be creative and to work on the business when you don't have to work in the business. Um, I think I said that right. So, you know, for me, it's one of the awesome things has been just like waking up and, you know, not having, you know, 4 meetings in a day, and not having to work on, you know, some of the things that, and again, this is, you know, some of these things I really wanted to work on, but, you know, the time wasn't right necessarily. So I had to wrap my mind around like, okay, what will your day look like now? For me, that has involved a lot more of being a dad, because I have a 7.5 month old, and he was only about 5 months, 6 months or so when we got into this. So spending like a lot more time with him in the mornings has been awesome. Um, and then really just carving out time to be creative again. That's what, you know, for Late Night Slice, that's one of the things that I think got us to this point, and helped us, you know, survive 10 years in a really brutal industry, is that we had fun, you know. And sometimes when you work on the business so much and you're there day to day and you're so close to the trees, that, you know, you forget that, hey, you got to be creative too. You got to be funny. You got to, you know, you got to be the place that people talk about. Um, for us, it's never been about pizza. Pizza's always been kind of second to, you know, being a destination, being a place where, you know, when you take your friend and you pick them up from the airport and they've never been to Columbus, you know, and you got to tell them like, okay, I got to take you to the 5 places that embody the people and the culture and the spirit of this community. Like, I want to be on that place. I want to be on that list, right? So it's really been fun to think about the bare bones, to take this thing back down to the basics, and, you know, not only operate the business from the basics, as in taking a 10-person shift now being a 2-person shift. Now we have to look at the business from, you know, that fresh brain of, you know, what can make us fun again? You know, what can be funny? How can we be better on the other side of this than we were when we got in? And that when you don't have all that stuff to bog you down every day, it's the opportunity is there. You just gotta get out of bed and think about it.
Yeah. What will this do for you? What will this do for you in going back to a day of 4 meetings? Will this make you more, you know, lax because you haven't been able to meet with people? Will it make you more focused? Where do you feel like that's going to land?
I think, and this goes probably for the entire world, you know, like we're talking, you know, over a platform that's been around for how many years now? A decade. You know, they've had video conference calls, but never has it been as accepted and prevalent as it is now. So I mean, things will change. You know, I mean, will meetings be the same? Probably not. You know, is talking, you know, through a computer going to be more acceptable? I hope so. I mean, this is kind of cool. So for me personally, I just think it's going to be a lot more efficient, because the opportunity that we had was to assess priorities. We got a chance to assess our priorities while we have nothing else in the way, or very little else in the way. So knowing and spending some time looking at what our priorities, what are my personal priorities? What, without having all the other noise around and just shutting all that other noise out that this thing has allowed us to shut out, it's really made me think like, all right, what are the things that I really want to do personally in life? What do I want to achieve in the business? Where do I think I'm most useful in the business, and where can I apply those talents? Because I'm assuming most of you are in some sort of, business, small business, entrepreneurship. Like, you work pretty close to the trees. You know what it's like to, you know, do what your talent, where your talent lies. But there's a ton of other things that occupy your day that aren't where your talent lies. So just to be able to get down to those, like, those really, just the priorities has been awesome.
Yeah.
That will
I
change.
found,
That will change my daily life for sure.
yes, so well said. I found myself really quick being like, I don't care about being productive. I just like, I don't care. This
That's part of that morning.
chain.
That was part of the morning.
Well said. And the waking up part, I feel like parts of me have have woke up that have been asleep for about a year and a half. And I'm so captivated by that analogy. So if you imagine like a 22-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old watching this and knowing what you know with the twists and turns of leading and going through a crisis now, all, how would you speak to them as they think about trying to show up and build a career? Your path has been very non-traditional, uh, and maybe these people are going to take that path and maybe they won't. But looking from your perspective, if you were to give them like a top two or three things to say, like, this doesn't matter and this does, from that experience, what would come to mind? This gray hair you got going on. You got
I know.
on
I know. This wasn't here 8 weeks ago. This happened quite literally in about 9 weeks. So
insane.
I wish that would have happened in 9 weeks. What an awesome story that would have been, right? So what would I say to someone in their early 20s that has gone through this too, but maybe isn't as established, isn't as farther along? I would say, again, this is a time to reassess priorities and seek out interests, because, I think one of the biggest bullshit things, some experts say is, to young people is go and follow your passion. I just never understood the whole follow your passion thing, because when I was in my early 20s, I had no idea what I was passionate about. Like, I didn't know I was passionate about, building things in Columbus. And personally, to give, a little introspective into, in my life, like, I'm not passionate about pizza necessarily. I'm not passionate about booze. I enjoy selling those two things, but through selling those things and through building a business, the perspective I've gained is that I'm passionate about building things in our community that people that live here can be proud of, right? So I want people to talk about going and having an experience at Late Night Slice. Like, they can talk about the pizza, and we have to have a good product. You can't build an experience around a shitty product, right? So the product has to be good. We have to have a great base product, but the experience of going to it, that's what's really going to make people talk. That's what I love doing, is building the places that people want to talk about, that embody the people and the spirit of our community. So seek those things out while you're living in your early 20s, as in a fairly consequence-free environment. As in, you might not have the governors in your life, not state offices, governors, the governors, the things that limit you, as in, a family or a wife, or, a big business or a mortgage or any of that stuff. While you are kind of nimble, this is the time to go seek those things out. So when you are, I'm 39 right now, those things can be more defined. You know that I might like this thing, but I'm passionate about this, and this, because I used that time when my decisions were relatively consequence-free to seek those out. So, seek interest right now. Explore interest. If you have desires to figure out what something is about, do it now while there's not a lot of stuff stopping you. So that's a long answer to a very short question.
No. It's well, because it's lived for you. and you can hear that in your voice and in the curiosity uh, that expands you, that makes you more creative. Right now, even in the midst of all the wildness and crazy, where do you find yourself getting curious? Where are you drawn to new edges of exploration?
You know, for me, it kind of gets back to that, like working on the business and not working in it. Um, there are things that we've wanted to get to for a little while. You know, it's those big, hairy, audacious goals, even those little pet projects, you know, and everything in between that, you know, you push off for whatever reason because life gets in the way, business gets in the way, the day-to-day gets in the way. Um, Having the opportunity now to dust off some of those projects, bring them off a shelf, and be like, this was a good idea. Why weren't we working on this when we had, you know? And the reason why is because life was getting in the way. You know, we were busy doing other things. This has been an opportunity to take some of those things off the shelf and be like, this is a good idea. Let's explore this a little bit more. Why we have the time. So that's been the rewarding thing for me is having the opportunity again to be creative and to look at some of those old ideas and think like, this would have been good. You know, this could help the business in the future. This could help us be better on the other side of this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We lost sight of this, and now this moment brings it back.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's I kind of liken this to like navigating in a dust storm, you know, and sometimes, you know, when you have a dust storm that descended upon us 7-8 weeks ago, I guess we're closer to 9 or 10 weeks now. You know, there's two things that I realized about trying to navigate in a dust storm. One, it's really hard to navigate in a dust storm, no matter how much you want to try. Two, sometimes it's better just to stand still and let some of that dust settle before you make the moves and go forward. So those have been two things I've looked at early on in this, and they've just been like, you know what, like, let's not try to barrel through blindly into, you know, government, you know, stimulus programs or, you know, things that we think would make us better. Like sometimes it's better just to pause real fast, process your emotions, and, you know, let some of the dust settle before you start moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Consider it, introspect, like you said earlier. This
Sure.
is all making me think of a quote. Hell is meeting the person that you could have become.
That's yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And it's a sobering reality, but for us, it's a fresh reminder that the things that got in the way of the more important, whatever that was, let's not lose that.
Sure.
This new
Absolutely.
reality.
That's our duty as business owners and as entrepreneurs and leaders. Like that is our duty, is to, you know, not get bogged down by the day to day and still have that perspective that, you know, got us to this point. So
Yeah, yeah. And for those that are watching that are at a place at, you know, mid-20s and wrestling with things, just hear what Mikey's saying, and that is now is the opportunity to be curious, to expand, to stretch. And you don't have to run away from your commitments to take some kind of path just to make the path non-traditional so you can feel better about yourself. You actually learn to do it in the presence of a commitment like you are. You know, the people that you love and care about, that you've committed to, your family, your place of business, you're expanding, not by running away from the problem,
right.
but by in the middle of it, the dust storm, as you said, finding
Yeah.
yourself. So super powerful and encouraging for us all to be reminded of. Mikey, I want to thank you so much for just lending your experience, your wisdom, your voice,
Sure.
as others can learn from your journey and their own. And really, wherever these come out or however they come out, you'll be, I think, the first official interview for Emergence. So props for that
Awesome. No,
full, amazing distinction.
that is my pleasure. I'm
So thanks
honored.
so much, man.